Welcome back to another Spurs Chat video where I've got three very special guests to talk about Tottenham's win in the Premier League. Of course, we won the first three Premier League games of the season, lost the last three, and of course today we have won 2-1 against Aston Villa. We really did need this win today. Now, let me introduce my fantastic guest for today. I've got Mike Lee from the Spurs Show podcast. Mike, how are you?
Hi, Chris. Honoured to be on your show. Lovely to be here in happy circumstances. That's good.
Exactly. We're all smiling. We're all happy.
I wouldn't want to be on your show last week after the Woolwich game for 90 minutes, having to go through 90 minutes of that garbage. So I'm delighted I'm on this one.
It was hard. It was hard work last week. Ricky, welcome. We've got actor Ricky Norwood, a good friend of mine as well. And Ricky, it's been a hard, few of these Spurs chats when we've lost games. And unfortunately, you've been on some of those. But talking about win today, it's going to be easier, isn't it?
Oh, bro, it's going to be a beautiful show today. It's going to be a beautiful show, full of energy, full of smiles. What more can you want, mate? What more can you want?
Exactly. And, of course, we've got Jamie Brown from the Daily Hotspur. Jamie, how are you?
Yeah, so much better, Chris, today after that win. Of course, it feels very unusual now having that win. But, of course, West Ham dropping points was nice as well. But, no, today's performance was really, really good. And I'm really looking forward to talking about it. So, yeah, really happy.
Mike, let's start with you. Of course, you're from the Spurs Show. Started it back in 2007. From what I believe, it was the first ever Spurs podcast and still going strong.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's gone through different guises. We started it with Phil Cornwell, who many comedy fans will remember from Stella Street and Gilbert's Fridge and various things. So we started doing it together. I now co-host with Theo Delaney. And 14 years we've been doing it now. And we're still doing our monthly live shows, and we've just announced our big Christmas show on December the 6th. We're doing a 50th anniversary of the UEFA Cup 72 win. So we've got Chivers, Jennings, Mullery, Perriman, Beale, Pratt all joining us. So that's going to be some night. If you want tickets, go to christmas.spursshow.net, and there's standing tickets all the way through to having dinner with them after the show at the Groucho Club. So a nice night, a nice Christmas night.
Mike, before we get into today's game, I've got to ask you, because I know you've done a live show with the great late Jimmy Greaves, who, of course, we lost a couple of weeks ago. Have you got any good stories to tell us about Jimmy Greaves?
Well, I mean, that was the only time I met him. He was an incredibly sweet and friendly guy. My business partner, Paul, who's a West Ham fan, he was with us backstage, and Paul's dad was very ill at the time. And he just happened to mention it, and Jimmy just went, "Come on, give us your phone. I'll leave a message for him." And he sort of called him up and left him a message. He was such a lovely guy, and we were absolutely honoured to have him, which we think was his last kind of public show he did before his initial stroke. So I think that's still up on YouTube. Anyone who didn't see it or whatever, it's only about an hour. Go and check it out. It's on YouTube somewhere, and it was amazing to have him. It's funny because I was too young to see him play. But there was sort of men and women there in their 60s, literally weeping. It was like Beatlemania. I mean, you don't realise, if you didn't see him, what a hero. You know, I mean, my hero is probably Hoddle, but most people of a certain age, Greaves was king.
Now, Mike, on to today's game. It is nice to talk about a win in the Premier League, isn't it? Of course, we got the 5-1 win against Mora in the Europa Conference League on Thursday, but today was so important.
Oh, my God. Honestly, I was so nervous before the game. The first 15, 20 minutes, we were dreadful. There was a real feeling around the ground. We were overhitting passes, unhitting passes, going out. You could feel the tension. You could feel how nervous the players were. And we slowly got into our groove. Again, I mean, the reason I was so scared was obviously Villa absolutely dismantled Man United last week at Old Trafford. And, with Watkins and Ings always scores against us. They're strong in midfield. And I must admit, I thought the ref was dreadful. I thought a lot went that he didn't see, and fouls off the ball and instances that he could have done something about. And the amount of corners we're giving away and throw-ins, they've got a full-time set-piece coach at Villa. So, I mean, we were really under it. And I have to say, I know all the plaudits will go to Son, but I thought Romero and Dyer and Holbier, I thought, were absolutely tremendous today. They threw themselves in front of every ball. And then the Kane show started clicking. They started linking up much better. And obviously the second goal, came at the right time. I mean, I thought if we didn't get that second goal immediately, it could have gone wrong today. But I'm delighted for Nuno. I know he was under huge pressure to get a win. And it's so nice to go into another bloody international break, knowing that if we win against Newcastle in 2 weeks' time, we could go second in the league. It's utterly bizarre. We could go second. So again, one win, happy days again.
Happy days again, indeed. Now, Ricky, you were with me at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Thursday. You were smiling all night long. You haven't stopped smiling since you've come on this channel today. What are your thoughts on today's game?
Oh, mate, wow. Boy, did we need that. Boy, did we need that. And at right at the perfect time. Perfect timing for a performance, a response. I was asking for the boys to, take up the responsibility of kind of working for the fans. Like, I remember last week being on Last Word on Spurs, being like, I don't want any chat no more. I just want to see it. I don't want anybody to talk about hard work. I want to see the hard work. And, like Mike was saying there, like the first 10 minutes of the half and the last 10 minutes of the first half, and in the first 10 minutes of the second half, Villa had their best patterns of play, but we warmed into the game, and it was just good to see the boys playing with energy, seeing the passes being zipped about with energy, a couple of flicks, a couple of tricks, the overlaps. It wasn't just the 2 goals, it wasn't just a result, but we had a response from them, and it's exactly what we needed. I think the biggest thing today, though, Chris, and you was there, it was the crowd. It was the crowd. The crowd were on top from minute 1, and when it went 1-1, they didn't drop off. They picked them back up. They carried on singing, yep. Come on, you Spurs. They carried on pushing the boys, and I don't know whether you've seen Højbjerg's interview after the game on Spurs TV, but he kind of described it the same way that you described it at the boxing, Chris. He came out at the stadium and he looked at the crowd and he felt the energy and he felt the fans kind of putting all of their wants and needs on the pitch, and he was ready for the fight. And you could see that them sliding into challenges, blocking shots. Like Mike said there, Villa have got a set piece specialist there working. And how many set pieces did they have? They had a ton of corners. They had a ton of throw-ons in our half, close to the goal. But some of it last ditch, but we defended and we were together. And it was just a great performance from the boys. Something definitely, and I say this a lot, but it. So I was happy, mate. I was happy.
Good stuff. Jamie, let's come to you. Your initial thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, well, like Ricky said, I've got to say the fans today were fantastic. I think if you look at the last 3 performances or the last in the league, they have been really disappointing. I think it could have been quite a negative atmosphere today, but actually the fans, they got behind the players all the time. They were really desperate for today's win, and I was really impressed with the supporters, and that definitely helped today. I think the big difference, obviously, as we know in the North London derby, the midfield was really poorly set up. But today it looked more balanced. I think having Skip in there was a big help. I think it allowed other players like Ndombele and Højbjerg to maybe have a bit more freedom. I think Skip maybe played a sort of a different role from what we've used against Arsenal in terms of he was sitting just in front of the back 4, so that was kind of linking things up. But it was I think the midfield helped a lot today, and Skip kind of showed, I think, now that he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet now. So he had a really impressive performance. I think Mike said at the start of the show, Romero, I think having him, he looked fantastic today. He was really imposing. He was everything you want from a central defender. So he seems to be a massive help for us today. Just made us look more kind of assured at the back. And then I think Emerson Royale had a really good game as well. He just looked like a really good outlet on the right. There was sometimes where maybe he could have pushed, he could have run with the ball a bit more. But otherwise, I thought he had a much improved performance today, and I was really pleased with his performance. And overall, I think we could have maybe been out of sight. Obviously, we had a couple of chances where if we'd have been more clinical on the day, we could have won by more. So that was a bit disappointing. I think with Harry Kane, I'm sure we'll touch on. I think there's a bit of confidence that's gone there. So it'll be interesting to see what the other guys think about that. But no, I was really, really pleased, and I was very surprised because I think the Arsenal performance was very disappointing. It was very concerning. But today it was a fantastic response. I think it was 17 shots today, so that's by far the most we've had under Nuno. So yeah, really, really pleased with that performance.
Absolutely, Jamie. We needed a response, and we certainly got that today. Mike, let's come to you. Now, let's talk about the starting 11. Hugo Lloris in goal, then the back four of Emerson Royale, Christian Romero, Eric Dyer, Sergio Reguilon, and then Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Oliver Skipp, Lucas Moura, Tanguy Ndombele, Heung-min Son, and Harry Kane. In your opinion, is that Tottenham's best 11 at the moment?
The only player I thought he would have started with in that lineup, what didn't start, was Lo Celso on the back of his performance in the week. I expected Lo Celso to start in front of Ndombele, and I still think he should have started in front of Ndombele. I still don't think Ndombele does enough in the 75, very rarely plays the whole game. In 75 minutes, I don't think he does enough. We know there's a great player there. I think sometimes he holds onto the ball too much. There was one moment in the second half he was clean through, and his first touch was dreadful, and he overran it to the goalie. I don't know. I think the problem, they don't quite know where his best position is. I think it is further forward, which he kind of played a bit more today. But no, and again, I expected Dele to be dropped from the last game. That was the only kind of change I probably would have made. But hey, we won. So he at the end of the day, he got it right because we won the game, I suppose.
Just quickly, Mike, on the Dele Alli situation. He had a very poor game last week against Arsenal, then was given the captain's armband for the Europa Conference game, and then dropped for today's game. What do you make of that?
Again, I think the problem that Nuno has, he's not playing him in his correct position, which we know is sort of just behind Kane, bombing on. You remember the great goals with Eriksen ghosting into the box, from crosses and stuff. That's his best position. I think he's worked really hard this season, more defensively, but he's not a defensive type of midfielder. It's great that he's fitted in there, and as a professional, you have to do a bit of everything. But again, the problem Nuno has is that he's only had 7 league games. So all the fans on social media go, this is enough and stuff. He's had 7 league games with this team. And in those 7 league games, he's had players quarantining, Kane coming up back late, big injuries to key players. So his practice games have almost been matches in Europe, and you could argue in some of the league games. So we've got to give him time. And today, what I was really pleased with was the fight, the spirit. The players clearly wanted to play for him. And especially in the second half, the chances we had. I mean, Kane missed the sitter, then should have played it back. Lo Celso missed the sitter when he tried to pass it when there was a shot on. We could have, as the guys mentioned earlier, could have had 3 or 4 today easily.
Ricky, let's come to you. Now, I wanted to see the hunger, desire, and the passion. Of course, after the last couple of weeks, losing at Chelsea or home to Chelsea and away at Arsenal, I wanted to see a little bit of passion today. Now, Matthew writes on the screen now, guys, you're getting carried away again. The problems are still there. We fans are getting excited too quickly. I can't see what Nuno is doing. Now, are you getting excited again about, Tottenham winning again? Because, of course, we all got excited about winning the first 3 games. The last 3 games have been extremely poor. By winning today, it does actually put Tottenham only 4 points away from top place, only 2 points away from the top 4.
Who's that director?
Well, sorry. No, but you know what, though? Like, everyone's talking about giving Nuno time. And, like you guys said there, he's had 7 games, okay, to work out his side and to work out which players are going to play for him. Now, to be fair to him, and sometimes it hasn't worked, but to be fair to him, when we played the 3 DMs, I think it was against Palace, the week after that, he didn't do that. He played 1 DM and he played 2 so-called creative midfielders in that side. So he tried to adapt and change. I think he found out a lot about himself and his tactics and what he's asking the squad to do last week against the Gooners, which was a dreadful, dreadful game. I mean, it was a damning game. I was saying that to you on Thursday, Chris. It was a damning game to have no midfield whatsoever and just have everybody pushing up. You know, the week before he had Harry Kane on the left for I don't know how long, and admitted that that was a tactic that they were using. This week, I'm not sure, because on paper it looked like a 4-3-3, but it felt more like a 4-2-3-1 with Skippy and Højbjerg being the holding greedy defensive midfielders, the ones that were going to shore up that midfield. And I was happy that the midfield was in midfield. Do you know what I mean? I was happy that Ndombele was given more chances to kind of express himself and to play further up the field rather than rely on him for defensive duties, even though he was still coming back and trying to help out the team. Today was one of the most positive performances from Ndombele, I think. Yes, he still weans in the second half. Yes, he still gets tired and fatigued in the second half. And that's when everything, a lot of his attributes drop off. But for the 70 minutes, 75 minutes, I think, that he was on, he was pretty dynamite. You know, he was turning, he was twisting, he was being a nightmare for Aston Villa, and he was creating chances. He was creating problems for their back three. You know, they didn't know what he was going to do, where he was going to go. It was also nice to see everybody playing with that energy, because it's exactly what we need. Yes, they're going to fatigue if they're going to play with that energy, because they're not quite ready for it, you know, and they've gone back to double sessions as well. So it's going to take a minute for that fitness to kick in for the whole 90 minutes. But look, we're Tottenham fans and we're football fans, and with a positive result, of course, we get carried away. But it's not just about getting carried away. It's about just enjoying the moment right now. You know, we have to enjoy these, because next week, well, I say after the international break, we don't know what's going to happen. You know, I hope not. I'm touching wood, but hopefully there's no injuries, and hopefully there's no quarantines, and hopefully the squad can come back together and pick up where they've left off and start to build on performances. You know, so to give Nuno credit, he has adapted where he's made mistakes, and I think he's still trying to find the right systems and the right way to play wholeheartedly, you know, from front to back and of course in the middle. So it was really positive to see the players respond to all that, to have some pride in themselves, in the shirt, for the fans, you know, to not want to go out and just flop like a pancake like they did against Chelsea and against the Gooners, you know, because as soon as we conceded one goal against both of those sides, the heads drops, their energy drops. You know, there was all of these arms flinging up in the air. You know, it sucks the energy right out of them. But today, when Villa scored, it was like, all right, then cool, let's go. And like Sonny has been the catalyst of that ever since he signed his contract. He has been the one that has taken responsibility, has taken up the reins to be like, all right, give it to me. Give the responsibility to me. We didn't know whether Harry Kane was going to be with us this season or not. But as soon as he signed his deal, he's like, don't worry. And that's the impression I got. Don't worry, I've got this. You want to put me at number 10 or number 9? I've got this. Where do you want me? I've got this. You know, he was the one that was trying to get everybody up last week against the Gooners when we scored our goal last week. He was still saying to the boys, like, come on, we can do something. Come on. You know, and even Harry, right? Which we've all been critical of Harry in recent weeks. We've seen and justly, and it's because we love him so much, and because we've seen him perform at astronomical levels over the time that he's been with us, that we've seen the drop off, and the drop off has been, you know, very, very clear. Today, I saw a bit of the old Harry in his eyes. You know, he wanted to press. He was taking shots. Even that shot that went over the bar early on in the first half, I think that was just to get a shot off and go, come on, let's go. So all of these things, and especially when we talk about body language, it was the first time that I saw, you know, like Harry's tail up, ready to go, ready to hunt down the ball, or ready to hunt for a scoring opportunity. He was really unlucky not to score today, in fact. I thought that shot in the second half where he went near post, where he done the defender and he went near post, was really close to being a goal. That was the only thing that was missing today. But you look at those boys and they done well. And you look at Nuno's response and he's done well because he's been under tremendous pressure from us all, media, fans, and the people within the club as well. Like, he's been under tremendous pressure. So to come out, get the performance that we got today, and the response and the responsibility and the pride being taken back in those players, fantastic. Not overreaction. It's fantastic today, but it means nothing if they don't build on it.
That's a great point about Nuno, Ricky. Jamie, let's come to you because, for me, Nuno Espirito Santo was under huge pressure going into this game. Now, I went into the pub before the match and the amount of Tottenham Hotspur fans that were saying, if we lose today's game, then Nuno could have gone. I know you're not Nuno's biggest fan. What do you think that this win means to him? Because straight after the game, Nuno looked absolutely relieved. I looked on the TV screens at the ground. He was having selfies with all of the fans, and the smile on his face, he looked absolutely relieved.
No, I think we all know, of course, first and foremost, the situation he walked into. I mean, that's something that has been very difficult for him. Of course, long managerial search, he knows he was like the ninth choice, and then of course he walks into a situation where the club were in a very poor position, having come off a very bad season. Then he's got the Harry Kane situation. So he himself walked into a very difficult situation. But I think actually the response, and then of course we've gone on this poor run and that's put a lot of pressure on him. But as Ricky said, I think the response today and kind of the changes that he made from Arsenal, I think that's what was very pleasing. I don't think we're getting carried away in terms of the whole situation, but just today's response was really pleasing because it was a very good performance. I think the issue about fitness as well, I think that's something where under the previous regime, under the previous manager, I think that's something that was kind of ripped up and we really seem to lose that fitness. I think you've seen the last couple of matches where in the second half we seem to have collapsed. So I think in time, as we get fitter, as we start doing more work on that sort of side, I think we'll start to become a better team as well. So and then of course you look at Harry Kane, I still feel as though Nuno, it feels as though at the moment he kind of doesn't really have a striker in this squad because Harry Kane, he's just not at that level that we know he can get to yet. So when Harry Kane gets firing, hopefully when the fitness comes back, and again, just the response he did today. So in terms of making the right sort of changes to make us produce a better performance. So he's definitely brought himself a real time today. But I was just very pleased with the response. I went into that game, I was really expecting a defeat today, but I was very, very surprised by that performance and I'm very pleased. So he's definitely brought himself time today.
Mike, let's come to you. Obviously, it's your first time on this channel on one of these Spurs Chat videos. Just want your thoughts on the manager. Are you fully behind the manager and his philosophy and the way forward? Do you think that he is going to bring Tottenham success?
I'm behind every Tottenham manager until they go. I don't know his philosophy. I haven't heard him sit down and discuss what his philosophy is. I must admit that. As Jamie said, he was 6th, 7th, 8th choice. You go for any job interview and you find out that other people turned it down and you're like last man standing. It's going to be difficult. He had our talisman striker wanting to go, come back from training late. Have I got my best player? Is he coming back? Not yet. I mean, so many things are going on. He had the whole Romero Sanchez situation when they're stuck in Croatia for 10 days. He's had a lot of problems. And he's come into this with Vedas were there for pre-season. And like most news managers, doesn't know his best team. He's been given new players with our new structure with Paratici. So, I don't know what he knew about the players that have come in. I mean, today, I think, if I'm correct in saying, the new players, remember, this was like his proper starting debut, I think, in a league game anyway. So he hasn't really used them that much yet. And as the guys have said, he's still, tinkering with what's going to be right. And he'll know what's right when we start getting results. And if you said to most people at the beginning of the season, first 7 games, won 4, lost 3, we all would have expected to lose to Chelsea, Man City. Most fans of a certain vintage probably thought we'd probably lose at Arsenal because we got a wretched record. That's kind of what's happened. And you got a message earlier about, we're getting carried away. I don't think any of us are getting carried away. We know that this is still a work in progress. We know that midfield's still not good enough. We know our striker still isn't firing on all cylinders. We still don't know what the best defensive partnership is. We've now got a new fullback. Royal, I thought, had a really good game today. So we know, unfortunately, this is another transition season. We're still in the League Cup. We haven't lost in Europe yet. There's a lot of positive things. You know, can we get top 4 this season? Well, you know, Chelsea had a blip, lost to Man City. Man City lost to us and drew with Liverpool. Liverpool drew at Brentford. Man United were murdered by Villa last week, and I thought we're lucky to get a draw against Everton. So all the teams supposedly around us aren't doing that well. Arsenal now below us after thinking they were, you know, going to win top 4 after beating us last week. So when you look in the great scheme of things, the whole league table at the moment, we're going into this another annoying international break. It's not as bad as most people were thinking. Yes, the worry is we still don't know the philosophy. What is the style? What's he trying to do? It was very, very negative. First 20 minutes, they were scared. They weren't going for it. They were sitting back. You know, all those things that... And the other thing is, we were, again, missold by Levy. The next manager is going to play the Tottenham way, the Tottenham DNA. This guy isn't Tottenham DNA. He doesn't play the Tottenham way. That doesn't mean he's the wrong manager. Let's give him time. You've got to give him a season. I hope come January, which is coming around the corner, there'll be some more additions as well. I still think we need a backup striker. You know, I mean, you look at Watkins and Ings today, 2 players that we were linked with and we didn't go because we didn't want to pull up the money. You know, there was a very small demonstration outside the game today, another Enoch out demonstration. Yeah, there's a lot going on in and around the club, but you know, look how happy we are coming out that ground today. Football's a simple game. We just want to see us win games. Yes, we want to win the Tottenham way. Yes, we want to win in style. But today I was happy to take a kind of iffy 2-1 victory, to be quite honest. More than delighted.
Ricky, let's come to you. Now, Mike talks about the Tottenham way there. You know, I said on last week's show that our stats, we were ranked pretty much 20th on every stat. You know, shots on target, you know, created chances, etc., etc. Now, shots today, 17, 8 on target. It was more like the Tottenham way. And do you think under Nuno Espirito Santo, that Tottenham way will come in time?
Well, I mean, on today's performance, it looks like they're looking to go towards that. I mean, both me and you were talking on Thursday about crosses into the box, like White, no crosses into the box. But today they were crosses into the box. You know, we were speaking there about like Emerson. Emerson, for example, he came in on deadline day. He hasn't had, you know, much time to bed in. And when I say bed in, I mean, you know, like learn the runs of certain players, learn the defensive shape, learn what Dyer's going to do, what Romero or Sanchez is going to do at the back line, learn what the midfield are doing, learn when to hold it, when to push, or when to run on the wing, or when to cut it back. Today, he had one of his best games. I watched an interview with him and Lucas a couple of weeks ago where he was saying that one of the biggest things in the game for him is communication. And when he went to Spain, he learned Spanish, and so he could communicate with his mates. And he's looking to learn English with Lucas again. You know, the translator for us, you know, for Vinicius last year, and then now it's Emerson. But yeah, you could see that he's starting to be able to understand this team and understand his role in this team. So as the weeks go on, I'm hoping if they build on this, I'm hoping that the Tottenham way will come. But asking Nuno to be that in that ilk is almost, you know, square pegs in round holes because of where he's come from and what he's shown before. Now, we all know Paratici showed Levy the Valencia season or the Valencia tape that showed that he could attack. So I think even Nuno is finding that way again, and he needs the personnel to find that way. You know, he's dropped a couple of players. We haven't seen Winks since Crystal Palace. Yes, he played in Europe the other day, but within the league or coming to the bench, we haven't seen him, and I think there's a reason behind that one. And I think there's a reason behind Dele being dropped today as well. So I think it's coming. I'm hoping that it's coming. I'm hoping that, you know, these first couple of games, he's seen what's working, what's not working. He's seen the mistakes that he's made. Because even, like I say, today it looked more like a 4-2-3-1. So maybe he's also seen that the 4-3-3 isn't really working for him. So he's adapted that again. You know, so I think I'm hoping that there's good times ahead. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something, because there are some good players in that squad. There are some, you know, we ain't too far off, but the players really did have to take responsibility for their performances, for their energy levels, for what they were giving on the pitch. And it looked like today that they were up for it. They were up for taking that challenge. They were up for taking the reins of responsibility. We saw a couple of leaders over the pitch, you know, like Højbjerg being one, like Sonny being another, and whether fans like it or do not like it, Dyer being one as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, so Dyer is and I know he's had indifferent performances, you know, throughout the last couple of seasons, but he's a bridge for Nuno and for the South American players, or those Portuguese speaking players in the squad as well. So he's going to help Romero, just being able to speak to him in a language that he can understand, quickly communicate what he needs to, you know, and also kind of take on the responsibility of what Nuno's asking him to do. So little bit by little bit, I think we're building in the right direction. This is just after today's game. If we would have lost today, and it's not even if we would have lost today. If we would have performed like we have the last couple of weeks, then I would have been really worried. I would have been like, well, he's getting sacked in the morning, or before we come back from the international break, then somebody else is going to be in charge. It's going to be, you know, Harry Redknapp and Ryan Mason, number 1 and 2, going to take us up to the end of the season. That's what I would have probably been saying, you know. But, you know, let's praise them when they're doing good. Let's big them up when they're doing good things, because, you know, we are quick as a fan base to criticize, because we see it. We love and breathe Tottenham. Every article that comes out, every video that comes out, you guys watching at home or listening, you know, we live and breathe Tottenham. So we don't, none of us, no Tottenham fan that I know wants to slag off the team, you know, wants to bad mouth them at all. You know, we all want to be positive with the team. So building blocks, Chris, building blocks. I think hopefully this is the pivotal cornerstone building block that we can now start create our little fortress around.
I think you're absolutely right. Not only for me today was it about the win, and I don't want to sound greedy, but it was about the performance as well. And the fact that we had 17 shots, 8 on target. Now, Jamie, I watched an interview that you did a couple of days ago with TalkSport 2. You didn't sound that convinced by Nuno Espirito Santo's management style. Now, when you see those stats, 17 shots and 8 on target today, does that instill a little bit more confidence into you?
Yeah, I think the thing with Nuno at the moment, we say we don't know what his philosophy is at the moment. I don't think at the moment he knows what his philosophy is at the moment. I think that we know when they were searching for a manager, it was always about attacking football, playing the Tottenham way. Nuno, I think, as Mike said, he's not really that sort of guy. We saw at Wolves, he's more of a pragmatic manager. He's a guy who has been renowned for playing similar football to maybe Jose Mourinho. So I think he's trying to adapt the way that he is as a manager and the way that he coaches. And I think, you know, we saw at Arsenal, he tried something different and it completely did not work. But today he's made some changes and I thought the response was really good. I think Villa, I do think Villa are a good side, and I think they're going to have a good season. As we saw, they beat Manchester United last weekend. Yes, Man United aren't the best form, but I think to go in at Old Trafford is still a great result. So I was just pleased with the response today, and as you said, we saw lots of really positive signs. We saw what having Romero back in the side does for us. We saw what having Emerson Royale bombing up the right side does for us. And as I said as well before, you know, when you can have Harry Kane back in form, you know, when you've got Lucas Moura, Heung-min Son firing, then I think you've got a really good team there. And of course, he changed up the midfield as well. I think he saw with Dele Alli that hadn't been working. I think that was something that was really important. You know, Dele Alli, as much as we all love him and want him to be back at his best, he just hasn't quite worked in the team. So Nuno, he's gone and changed it. He's brought in Oliver Skip. So that was pleasing. And just today, as we keep saying, the response was fantastic today. Not getting, I'd say I don't think we're going to get carried away because, of course, we're going to have some tough games coming up. I think going to Newcastle, yes, I thought maybe they're not the best side, but I think going to St James's Park is going to be tough. And then, of course, we've got West Ham. So, you know, those are going to be two interesting matches to see how we get on. But today, really, really pleased with that performance and the way we responded.
Mike, let's come to you now. Tottenham Hotspur tweeted earlier, putting a poll out for the Man of the Match award. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Emerson Royale, Romero, and Heung-min Son. It looks like Heung-min Son is running away with that poll at the moment and that vote. But all four of those players played very, very well today, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as I said at the top of the show, they were kind of the top four. It was look, we know what Son can do, and I think he's been a little bit subdued this season. I don't know why. He's obviously signed a new contract, but I think he's been one of the players that hasn't been firing. And it was lovely to see him today. You know, both feet taking players on, 2 assists. Højbjerg is a player that we know what he can give us. I thought he was obviously very, very exposed last week at the Emirates because he had no one with him. Today, he had players nearer him. Lovely to see him get a goal. I mean, how many midfielders we had of that ilk get the ball on the edge of the area and it would go into row Z? So it was lovely to see him stroke that ball in. Roy, we don't know much about. You know, you only read about, you know, what he was like at Real Betis and Barcelona. He had a difficult game last week, obviously. But I thought he looked really strong, closing players down. Not as pacey as I thought yet. There was one moment in I think it was the first or second half when he started running, and it was like he was running through treacle a bit. So maybe that's going to come with fitness and stuff. And Romero has a calmness about him, really, really calm. I mean, I can't really think of many errors today. Yes, as Jamie said, there was a couple of last-ditch, goal line challenges and things like that. But he looked very, very calm, strong, knew when to go in, knew when to stay on his feet and not dive in. Against a very, very good Aston Villa team. This is the team that's been in the Premier League for a few years now, doing really, really well. We lost them last game of the season, 2-1, if you remember, another awful performance at home. This was a really, really big win. We're not getting carried away, but I think most Spurs fans probably would have seen this as maybe a draw defeat today. So that's why it's such a huge 3 points.
I think it was such a handful as well, though. Have Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings. I think a lot of fans before the game would have feared the worst. So to kind of deal with them the way they did was really pleasing. Obviously, it was fantastic that Leon Bailey wasn't playing. That would have been an interesting to see him come up against them. But even so, Ings and Watkins, I think they're going to score lots of goals this season, going to cause lots of defensive problems. So it was very pleasing to see kind of the way we dealt them today.
Yeah, Ings had one chance today, quite late in the second half in the box. He swiveled and we thought, he's going to put this in. He blasted it wide. That was his only chance. And I think he scored against us the last 3 appearances at White Hart Lane. So we did keep him quiet. The goal was disappointing. I thought, I was obviously at the ground. I don't know if there was any hint of offside because he seemed to get in front of our defender first. Obviously not, but I don't mind conceding a goal if we go ahead and then score 2. It doesn't bother me.
Ricky, let's come to you. Now, we spoke last season under Jose Mourinho that we needed defensive reinforcements. It was an absolute must for this season. Of course, Christian Romero has come in. He certainly looks the real deal, doesn't he? And I know we're not going to get carried away as yet. He's only played a handful of games for Spurs, but he does look a real star, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, he does, man. And he looks like a defender we've been crying out for a couple of seasons, like what Mike was saying there, he's very calm. Like we saw it against Mura the other day. I know it was a different level of side, but he didn't panic whatsoever. Many a times that he used his body to defend rather than like a challenge, but today, what really impressed me was his anticipation of challenges. He got challenges in before an attack broke or before the player took the second touch to pass it off to another Villa player then they could have counted on us. But he got in there way before any of that started. It was almost like in between breaths that he would tackle. And, there was a couple of people that were saying today that it was, he was a bit at fault for the goal. I don't think so. I think it was more the kind of Skip and Højbjerg kind of the kerfuffle in midfield where the balls then run out. And he's like, you know what? I'm taking this guy out. I'm stopping this attack right now. It was mistimed and he got the yellow for it and they went on and they scored. But that was the only kind of niggle that I wouldn't even lay blame at his feet for. I think that he, again, kind of was like, he sensed the danger and went to go put the fire out. He just got it misjudged a little bit. But overall, over the 90 minutes, he was dynamite. And I think the more he plays, like the more him and Royale play, because they need to form a partnership, the centre back and the right back, both right-sided. So they need to form some type of understanding and partnership so they know how to cover each other and when one's going, like how to hold back and stuff like that. But I thought Romero was fantastic, man. On Royale, I know that last year, I know that we've brought him in as more of an attacking right back, but like last year for Betis, he and I keep saying this about Royale, but he's a proper right back in the sense of when it's time to defend, he's ready to defend. When it's time to bomb on, he's ready to bomb on, and there's an attack right there, and he can cross. I know the previous weeks he hasn't really been able to show that, but I thought today was the first steps, the first baby steps of him being able to show what he's about. The more he grows into this side, the more that he gains communication with his teammates, the more he understands runs and his role. I think we're going to see a dynamite player there that's going to rip it up for us for a couple of seasons to come. So, yeah, defensive reinforcements was definitely needed. We all wanted another centre-back in there to be brought in over the summer. Didn't happen, but I'm glad we got this one. I'm glad we got this one and we didn't go for two kind of cheapy, less quality, good, but less quality defenders. This boy here is going to be dynamite. Romero is going to be dynamite. Mark my words, man.
Will he improve Eric Dyer, though, Ricky? That's the question.
Will Eric Dyer improve him, Chris? That's the question. That's the question. You know what? I don't know. I think Dyer, it's tough because every time he has a bad performance, the previous bias, the previous kind of bad performances come into play. And I've tried to kind of give him a clean slate and see what he's doing this year. The first 3 games, him and Sanchez were pretty solid, and today he was blocking shots, he was commanding the back line, he was shouting, it wasn't just him making a tackle. There was a bit of an all-round performance there. And there is some leadership quality in there. But obviously with bad results and, bad performances from the team throughout, that will, that's going to dampen everybody's spirit, mate. It's going to. So I think that the more they play, the better they'll be. I don't know whether that's going to be the best partnership, but let's see. I on paper, I would have thought it would have been Sanchez Romero, just on paper, because I think Sanchez is another one that's potentially got everything. He's got everything. Yes, he switches off. Yes, there's a mistake in him. Yeah, I know that. But potentially, he has it. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got the power. He's got, he's huge. There's a lot there to come from Sanchez. He hasn't found it as yet. But maybe Romero's the partner that will bring the best out of him. Who knows? I'm just happy that they're working on it, and Romero's in there. As long as Romero's in there, I think there's more good days to come.
Jamie, let's come to you now. Of course, under Jose Mourinho last season, there was lots of swapping around in that back line. Do you believe that the back line today is our best back line? Because, in my opinion, I think that Nuno will be swapping the midfield around a lot. Do you consider that Emerson Royale, Romero, Dyer and Reguilon will be a regular back line?
I think so, actually. Do you know what? Today, I think Dyer looked more confident having Romero in there with him. I think, today I was pretty pleased with Dyer, actually. I thought he had a very good game today. Reguilon as well also had a much better performance. So, I think that having that presence, having a guy who's coming in and kind of offering that reassurance to everyone, I think it gives everyone confidence and allows them all to play much better. So, I think Dyer, I think he's shown today that, and a number of occasions this season, I think against Manchester City, he looked like he wanted to be a leader in the back line. He just kind of needs that confidence to kind of really take that responsibility on. And when he's got a partner in there alongside him, like Romero's, as good as Romero. As we said, today he looked as though a number of occasions where he read the game really well, and just put in a really impressive performance. So I think having Romero will lift kind of that whole back line. But I think Eric Dyer will probably be the number one centre back. Of course, we saw under Jose Mourinho, he seemed to kind of really favour him. Yes, of course, there was times when he kind of wasn't at the best, but you could still see that Mourinho obviously liked him for maybe another sort of reason in terms of the characteristics that he's got in terms of wanting to be a leader. So I think Dyer will stay in the back line. Yes, of course, I think maybe we'll see some errors from him, but I think that'll probably be Spurs' back four for the season. I can definitely see that, because I think as well today Reguilón had a better performance defensively. There was times where he was maybe tested, but I thought he overcame it really well today. So hopefully we can see more of that. But again, we keep saying about not getting carried away. So hopefully we'll see it more often, and we need to see it more often from Reguilón, from Dyer, from Romero. But really, really good start from them today. And as you said, I do think that will be the back four going forward.
Mike, in your opinion, what was different today than last week against Arsenal? Because, of course, Christian Romero played in this game, and a lot of Spurs fans expected Christian Romero to be playing in that North London derby. Why do you think he didn't play last week?
I've no idea. We obviously don't see what's going on in training. We don't see the conditioning of the players. He'd obviously had some travelling as well. It was in Croatia for a while. I don't know. I agree with Jamie, though. I think this now, win or lose, let's get this settled back four. Let's stick with this back four now, injuries and suspensions aside, and go. This is the Tottenham back four with Lloris, and that's it. That's our solid base now. We've got a very, very expensive centre-back who won Player of the Tournament in the Copa America. We've got him there. Dyer is obviously, as Jamie said, under Mourinho, so much better. It has looked good this season. Let's stick with the four now. The midfield, would I still hope there's a player in Lo Celso. I still haven't seen enough of Lo Celso to go, he is the answer to what we need in the midfield. But he might be the best of what we've got in that position. I still think Ndombele, I'd love to see him play 90 minutes. He's still tired. He's still obviously got fitness problems. I don't know if it's just his sort of demeanor when he walks around, but when he plays the ball, he just looks knackered the whole time. He looks like a Sunday league player that just can't get his breath. It's extraordinary to see in a professional footballer. When
do you think that will change, though, Mike? Because it's frustrating for us, isn't it? That's a record signing who should be delivering so much more. We all know his ability. And Lo Celso, we've all said it. Everyone who comes on this channel week by week, we all say it. What is Lo Celso's best position?
Yep, this is it. This is the problem. And, we don't see them in training, but Nuno has decided on a team today. It won. Yes, we could have lost today. Some of those blocks might not have happened. An Ings shot would have gone in. It could have gone either way, let's be honest. We had some good chances at the end. We could have lost that 2-1. We could have won 4-1. So we're not getting carried away with, this is it. We're going to kick on now. But all we want is consistency with Tottenham. This has been the problem since we've all been supporting that consistency. We want to go now to St James's Park in 2 weeks and see the same level of performance. We want to go to West Ham and see the same level of performance and show up and give it their best, because when all the players are up for it, on paper, the first 11 is a good side. One can argue, we look at some of these European games when he sort of rests players, you look at the bench, you're like, my God, this bench, there's nothing on this bench. That's another competition. If we get Harry Kane firing again, he's not firing yet. He missed some good chances today. Okay, he's great dropping back. I'd love to see him just up top, maybe for a couple of games, like he was when he came on against Moura in midweek. He literally stayed in the box and scored 3 goals in 20 minutes. There's still a lot of improvements to be had, but I think let's just start with this base now and try and kick on.
Absolutely. Ricky, let's come to you. Let's talk a little bit about Harry Kane, because he did miss a number of opportunities today. But of course, I was with you at the Spurs Stadium on Thursday. He scored a hat-trick. And are you worried about Harry Kane not scoring a Premier League goal so far?
Not right now. Not at this particular time. I was because more so about his body language. look, we as Spurs fans have seen barren runs from Harry. Yeah, whether that be August or whether that be, you know, just after an injury or something like that. And we've always backed him because we've seen the effort that he's been putting in around the pitch and for the rest of the team, you know, and he might set up one, or he might, or he'll encourage and kind of inspire performances from the rest of the team. If you look at today, this is what I'm saying. It's like I could see the glint or the little star quality of Harry Kane back in his own eyes. You know, if you look at the even like the little back heel that he set up Son with, you know, so like we had the sweeping move second half, and it came into him, and he could have taken the shot, but he tried to set up Sonny there, and it should have been a goal. But like these were the more of the things that I like seeing from Harry, and it looks like, and I'm hoping again, touching wood again, that this is just the beginning. The thing is with Harry is that whenever anybody has criticized him, he has always gone, all right, then cool. All right, cool. I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you. You know, whether that be Sky Sports, whether that be the rest of the written media, and even us now, even us Tottenham fans, we're looking at him and we're not criticizing him for criticized sake. We're criticizing him, going, this is not the same player. Something is up here. So with that in mind, I think that he's like going, all right, cool. All right, cool. And today I saw an effort to show us, you know, He could have got a couple of goals today, easy, you know, but yes, his sharpness, scoring sharpness ain't quite there yet. But look at that, Chris, on Thursday against Mura, like Mikey just said just there. He was on for 20 minutes and banged a hat-trick that we saw. Now, if a striker doesn't want to be there, or if he don't want to show up or turn up, then he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done that. You know, like him missing today, it was a miss rather than no effort miss. You know what I mean? Rather than a lazy miss, rather than a I don't want to be here miss. It was like, I missed. And you saw that in him. Every time you saw him slap his hand. You know, these are old school kind of body language kind of characteristics that we've seen from Harry before. So we're on the bubble. Harry's on the bubble. He's on the boil. He's about to get to where he needs to be. You know, hopefully nothing bad injury-wise happens to him over the international break. Hopefully those international games help to up his fitness, help to up his sharpness, so that by the time he does come back, he's like, all right, because he's going to get frustrated. You've got to remember how much pride he takes in scoring goals and representing the club. Last week I said on Spurs that he had a bit of the Odemwingie in his head. Do you know what I mean? A bit of that Odemwingie hangover, where, you know, Odemwingie went to QPR with the car and then got Harry's like, listen, we ain't signed no papers, bro. You're gonna have to go back. Reverse. Pretend you didn't see me. Pretend you know. And there was a bit of a hangover there for the Odemwingie. And I think that this is what's happened with Harry. These last couple of weeks, there has been a hangover. There has been a kind of maybe that was my move, or maybe this. But it's taken a minute, and I think even that poor performance against the Gooners, him being a Spurs boy, born and bred. Do you know what I mean? If you cut him, he bleeds blue and white. I think that probably frustrated him as well, and was like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I've had enough. It's time to turn up, which he did in 20 minutes against Mura. And then today, I saw, like I say, that hint, that glint of a Harry Kane about to burst back on the scene again. So the more he gets criticized and slagged off, the more he's gonna go, all right, and cool, I'm gonna prove it to you all. Just watch it. You know, Roberts said it with you today, Chris. That the 3 goals counted. Do you know what I mean? As a striker, the goals count regardless of who they're against. And he wants to be there. You know, Roberts said it today. So it's give him a minute. Like, we've given him a minute. It's going to be 2 months now. He hasn't scored in the Premiership. He's going to be super frustrated and upset with himself, and he's going to go, all right, cool, I'm going to show the world again. I'm going to show the world again. And this is what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm touching wood for. He's going to show the world again, Chris. Just watch Newcastle. Watch Newcastle, bruv. He's coming for Newcastle. Watch.
You're not getting carried away, Ricky, are you?
Me? No.
Right. Jamie, let's come to you. Let's talk about the game itself. The first 20 minutes, no shots on target from either side. In the 24th minute, Harry Kane spotted Martinez off his line, had a shot from distance. And then Tottenham went 1-0 up in the 27th minute through Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Santo Højbjerg, edge of the box. What a great finish from him, the composure. And as Mike said earlier, in the position that he plays, you would expect a player like that shooting over the bar. But what a fantastic finish from him.
Yeah, I think first of all, just in terms of our start, I think we covered it was a bit slow, but I think coming off a game where you've lost badly to Arsenal, I think the confidence would have taken a bit of a hit. So I think they were kind of feeling their way into the game a bit, and then they kind of, when the goal came, I think that's when the confidence really started flowing. But yeah, really nice finish from Højbjerg. Of course, Son assisting him, but I think with Højbjerg today, I think he just has. I think that having that presence in midfield, I think he just seems to do kind of everything in that midfield, and I think that when he doesn't have a player like Skip in there, and he doesn't have that sort of help of someone maybe helping out do more of the defensive work, then it kind of limits his game. I think we saw at the Euros as well that how good he can be creatively. I think for Denmark, he created. I think it was the second most chances in the Euros. I think he was third in the number of most assists. So he shows what he can do. He's a guy who's a very well-rounded midfielder. So I think having Skip in there really helped him today. I think it helped Ndombele today. We saw Ndombele allowed to express himself. So yeah, I think as I said, it just took us time to kind of build our way into the game. And then of course we saw some of the players being able to go and express themselves today. Højbjerg, I thought, Højbjerg had a really, really good game for me today. So yeah, very pleased with him. But I thought, as I said, Skip, I think having that presence in there, helping other players out, kind of maybe doing the jobs that players don't want to do in terms of maybe clearing up in front of the defence. I think that's really important to have that in the team. So very pleased with Skip, very pleased with that midfield. It's a much improved performance from the midfield today.
Mike, when I look at these stats from the first half, in the 43rd minute, just before half-time, McGinn volleyed over from distance just past the post. Half-time, it was 1-0. We had 62% possession in that first 45 minutes. We had six shots to Aston Villa's 4. We had 3 on target to Aston Villa's 0. So we talk about the Tottenham way. We kept Aston Villa at bay in that first 45.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big stat person, and I'm very surprised to hear we had 62% possession. Really, it didn't feel like that kind of watching the game. As I said at the top of the show, I was surprised. I was extremely worried about Villa today. The strong midfield, strong centre backs who don't give you many chances. They've had some really good results this season, and we did kind of keep them at bay until the second half. Second half, a lot of last-ditch tackles, shots going past. And saying that, I can remember Luis making one relatively easy save in the game. So they didn't have much on target. They were over-hitting a lot of crosses as well. I think if you were a Villa fan, you'd be frustrated by the performance they kind of put in today. The final ball wasn't there. The final shot wasn't there. You could argue that was because we defended well. I wouldn't say what we saw today yet was the Tottenham way. I think it's very, very early days to start thinking we're now in a groove yet. We saw signs today,
particularly after those 3 defeats. It was a step in the right direction, certainly, wasn't it?
He couldn't lose today, as you said at the top of the show, going in the pub and all that. This was an absolute must win. I don't think it was a draw would have been enough. We talked about the crowd earlier. When they equalised, it was a deathly silence around the ground for a while. It was very, very quiet for a few minutes, and then everyone sort of got behind them again. And thank God we got that goal so quickly after their equaliser. It's 7 games into a new manager. I mean, you look at most managers who've come in over the years have struggled. I mean, if we'd lost today, I think that would have been our most defeats since Yol came in 2004. When Santini was there, I think we lost 6 on the trot then. So we've been there before, but we've got the nucleus of a good team there. I don't think it's a great team. You could argue how many of our players would get into Manchester City or Liverpool's team. Kane and Son, Kane on form, Son. Let's be honest, it's probably about it. Let's be really honest about ourselves. Maybe the goalie. So we're not there yet, and let's hope that Nuno is there for a while and could build something. And he's backed by Levy. He's backed by Paratici. He's happy with the players that are brought in. He brings the youth players in, the young players in. He seems to, the fact that Skip's come back, it's a frustration that Sessegnon's been injured again. I'd love to see Sessegnon do well at Tottenham. It's a frustration that he hasn't had any kind of Tottenham career yet. You know, Dane Scarlett looks exciting. There's some other young players that look exciting. You know, we just want to, as I just keep saying, we just want to see effort. We just want to see them playing for the badge. And today they did. And today they battled. They 1-1, their heads could have gone down. It could have been it. It could have been all over. We could have rolled over. We didn't. And I think we've got to take that. It's a shame we've got this bloody international break again against Andorra, whoever we're playing in Hungary. Utterly pointless games. I hope Harry Kane doesn't get a minute in any game and get some rest, because I don't want to risk him in these utterly pointless games of football. So it's a shame there's that break, but let's come back in 2 weeks' time. And we've got a reasonable record at St James's Park over the years. I think we generally do okay there. You know, I think it's a place. I mean, they're not doing very well at the moment. Their crowd, they're certainly on their backs. There's no reason why we can't go there and get a win.
Mark, just want your thoughts on the attendances at the moment, because the attendance was quite low on Thursday in the Europa Conference League. Today it was 53,076, 9,000 empty seats. Now, Nuno Espirito Santo said after the game, he thanked the fans and said the fans, the support, what they gave us today is huge. It is really important and we are thankful. Are you surprised that there are 9,000 empty seats in a game like today?
Not really. It's look, the problem you've got is still COVID. People are worried about COVID. Whatever your feelings on it, no one wears a mask in the concourse anymore. No one wears a mask queuing up. It's just gone out the window. But there's a lot of older people there that I know that are still worried about it. There's the cost. A lot of people have had huge financial problems over the last year. It's a lot of money to keep fine. And the other big thing that no one really talks about, I'm a season ticket holder. If I can't go and I can't gift my ticket to someone, I can't then put my tickets on Ticket Exchange until the game is officially sold out. Today, the game wasn't officially sold out. So as far as I'm aware, no one could even put their ticket on Exchange. There was the London Marathon. There's other events going on. People physically can't go. They can't even give their tickets away. They can't even sell their tickets or whatever. So that's why today people go, oh, look, I went online and there's not many seats available, blah, blah, blah. The 9,000 that weren't there, I guess 7,000 would be season ticket holders who didn't show up today. I think that's the reason why. And you know what? I know a lot of people who pay for the premium lounge. You know, you entertain. There's no tourists coming over at the moment. The premium lounge is normally full of tourists. And also, let's be honest, since last season of Mourinho and still carrying on, the football for us Spurs fans has been largely very disappointing. So why do people want to pay that kind of money at the moment if you don't have that kind of money? So there's various factors why there was only 53,000 there today, which still was still not a bad crowd, I think, for a Sunday.
Yeah. Now, Ricky, let's come to you. Let's talk about the second half. And Heung-min Son's. Sorry, Jamie, we're going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just going to go on the previous point there about the Tottenham way and the way that we're playing right now. I think it's the difference between pragmatism and forward playing football, you know, forward moving football. You know, today we didn't just score the goal and then hang back and then trying to defend that 1-0 lead. You know, what we did do was continue to push forward, continue to play, continue to create chances, continue to create problems for the opposition. We gave them more to worry about than they gave us to worry about. You know, everything that they came at us with, we was like, all right, then cool. Yes, there were some last-ditch tackles and last-ditch blocks and stuff like that. But it's a difference between pragmatism and playing forward football, you know? So, yeah, that's all I want to say on the back of that point there.
Yeah, no, great point. Let's talk about the second half. Heung-min Son, it seemed, was at the heart of everything. Heung-min Son, 1-on-1. Dyer to Son. Martinez then saved in the 60th minute. 62nd minute, Ndombele shot. Martinez saved. And then the Aston Villa goal came in the 68th minute against a run of play. Ollie Watkins scoring. And as Mike said, we've been linked with Ollie Watkins in the past, linked with Danny Ings. Are you disappointed that we didn't sign one of those players?
Yeah, I think Ollie Watkins is a dynamite player. I think he done so well it was Brentford, wasn't it? He done so well for Brentford in the Championship the year previous to him signing for Villa. I think there's a lot of potential there. I feel that he should have gone to the Euros myself this summer just gone. I felt he had enough form and enough kind of momentum to be in that Euro squad for England. I think he's dynamite. And I know our friend and colleague Anthony Costa loves Ings, and he actually texted me yesterday before the game, Chris, and he was like, Danny Ings brace. And I was just like, Costa, come on. Why do that? Why? And he was just like, I just want to get it out there early. I'm like, for goodness crackers. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? I think Danny Ings is a bit...
During this show, he's actually tried to ring me, and I'm gutted that I can't take the call because it would be great to talk to Anthony after a week. It really would.
Yeah.
Sorry, Costa. We're sending you love, mate. We're sending you love. No, on Danny Ings, do you know what? Danny Ings reminds me a bit of Robbie Keane. Not in the sense of he's got that pace about him, but he does have that low center of gravity. He does have that trickery. He can pull out a goal from absolutely nowhere. I mean, today when he had that turn and shot, that's he flipped it. He got, I can't remember who he received the ball from, but he flipped it up and he turned on the button and shot at Lloris. I was like, whoa! Like, I mean, just to pull it off. I'm glad he didn't score, and I'm glad Lloris saved it. But he's got a lot of quality, and I think that he could have done really well at Spurs. I think he's kind of the way that he plays and his determination, and the fact that he gets frustrated with himself when he doesn't get it right. I think would have been good as a second striker alongside Kane or a backup. Watkins definitely one for the future, but we've been saying this for season in, season out about a second, third striker. I mean, gone are the days where we had Berbatov, Keane, Darren Bent, Jermaine Defoe. I mean, to say it sounds ridiculous that we had those four in the side. Do you know what I mean? Like, so long gone are those days at the minute. But I've got a faith in Paratici that it's going to come to fruition. I think he has the certain targets on his board, and I think right now they don't want to waste any money and spend it. And I say this like this in inverted commas, in the sense of they want to use it for the player that they want. I think Vlahovic is the one that they want, and I think they're going to go for him. And I don't think that I think that they don't want to spend, let's say, 60 to 30 mil on a player that they don't really want, that will end up giving him wages. He'll end up loving London, and we won't be able to sell him, a bit like Wanyama or do you know what Ian along those lines there. So it would have been great. It would have been great to sign one of those two strikers, but we haven't. So we keep it moving, Chris. We keep it moving.
Well, it would be interesting to see what happens in the January transfer window. Watch this space.
Yes.
Jamie, let's come to you. Now, of course, in the 71st minute, what a reaction from Tottenham. Heung-min Son, fantastic work from him. Crossing. I think it's gone down now as an own goal, but it was credited to Lucas Moura at the time. Jamie, be honest with me. When it went to 1-1, did you think, here we go again?
I think as a Spurs fan, you kind of always have that reaction, and then of course the form we've been in, I did kind of maybe fear the worst. But do you know what? I genuinely was really pleased with that performance and how the game was going, and I did feel as though we actually were going to have enough to maybe get another goal. So yes, I think as Mike pointed out, there was kind of a real eeriness around the ground. It went very silent, and you could kind of feel the way the fans were feeling. But I don't know. I felt as though that performance, I felt we had more in us. And of course, when you've got someone like Heung-min Son in the team, I just remember seeing him G'ing up the supporters, especially after the goal. I think when he went after corners, I think you just realise how lucky we are to have a player like Heung-min Son of that sort of quality and that sort of player that shows that sort of passion. So when you've got a player like that in your team, you're always going to have an opportunity. And yes, it was. I think that you've got to give credit because as well for the goal and how quickly we responded. Because as we can see on many occasions from Spurs, from maybe other teams as well, you know, when you concede a goal like that, when you've been in poor form, you know, you quite easily could crumble. But we didn't. We picked ourselves up and we went again and we scored really quickly. So that response in itself was something that I was really pleased with again. So, but Son, of course, you know, he was. You know, maybe he's not kind of firing as we want him at the moment, but today I thought he did have a good game, and there was just moments where he was causing real havoc, and I think he did a fantastic move to create that goal, and a very, very pleasing performance from Heung-min Son today. And as I said, just seeing the passion that he had, I think that's something, and we saw it, I think, after his goal at Arsenal as well, where he's rallying the players. So I absolutely love Heung-min Son. I think for me, he's quickly becoming possibly one of my favourite ever Spurs players, if not one of my favourite Spurs player of all time, just because of the passion that he shows and how good he is. So, yeah, really, really happy we've got him in our team.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Jamie. Mike, let's come to you now. The last 20 minutes, for me, it was about putting this game to bed and putting all of us Tottenham fans, you know, at ease, you know, knowing that we've got the 3 points. Of course, we don't do that, do we? In the 79th minute, Harry Kane had an effort. Martinez beaten, but it was just wide. 87th minute, Harry Kane back heel to Lo Celso. Mings blocked. Lo Celso had to score there, didn't he?
But he tried to pass it to someone. That was an awful miss. The Kane one run-on-one should have scored, and then we had Son and someone else were behind him, and he tried to then chip it over. Was a little bit selfish, I think. What I loved about it, and I haven't seen Spurs do that. I mean, the first half, there was an injury and a physio came on. There was loads of time wasting from goal kicks and throw-ons, and the ref gave 1 minute extra time. In the second half, they had a player down the same amount of time, but that was about it. 5 minutes of injury time came from somewhere, which was disgraceful. But I haven't seen Tottenham run down a clock so effortlessly in years. I mean, there was the comedy of the little short corners, and hey, he's gone for another corner, and this went on for 3 minutes, and that finish was like game over. Normally, you're like sitting there, and they'll have another corner, and Reguilon will give away a stupid free kick with a minute to go, and you're just going on, not again. I actually leant back in my seat for the last couple of minutes. I mean, that was nice to see. There was some good, game management was clearly something they've been working on.
Mike, if Harry Kane and Heung-min Son are not scoring goals in the Tottenham team, how important is it for you that all of the Tottenham Hotspur midfield start stepping up and getting goals? Because when you look at last season's stats, Gareth Bale scored 16 goals in all competitions. Carlos Vinicius has got 10. That's 26 goals. No. We haven't replaced either one of those players. Are you worried where the goals are coming from if Son and Kane are not in fine form?
Absolutely. Who isn't? I mean, I still don't. I don't think the club ever came out and said why they didn't exercise the option on a second year with Bale, unless he didn't want to stay. But I can't see why not. I thought that was a strange move. This is the problem, Holbier that's why it was nice to see him score today. Ndombele doesn't score enough. Dele, the way he's been playing, the position he has. Moore has had his injury problems. Moore can chip in more. Bergwijn, certainly when he's back, has to chip in more. But it is a problem. And again, this is why it's still an absolute disgrace that we still haven't had a backup striker for a while. Because even games like today, maybe at 1-1, if Kane wasn't firing, you could have gone to an Ings or Watkins and brought them on. Okay, we've got Dane Scarlett, but he's 17 years old. This still surely has to be addressed in the next window. Harry Kane will not be staying at Tottenham for the rest of his career. He will eventually go somewhere, maybe even overseas. We all know he probably wants to go, and I think most Spurs fans, wish him the best when he does go. So even more reason to bring a forward in now who will get the games in the League Cup in Europe, ready to maybe take over next season, maybe a young player, 23, 24. We've got to do that because, as you said, you take those goals out from those two and it's a real worry. And, they've both had injury problems, Kane more than Son. There's no reason why that wouldn't happen again. One or both gets injured again. And then it's a real concern for the rest of the season. And we shouldn't be in that position. The club has to sort it out. It's ridiculous that we're still having this conversation.
Absolutely. Now, after the game, players tweeted, Harry Kane tweeted, important, we responded to last weekend with a win, great energy and belief from the boys. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg said we had to show how much we care and how much we wanted it. Heung-min Son said it feels so good. Now, with the win today, it now puts Tottenham Hotspur up to 8th in the Premier League. And as I said earlier, 4 points away from top, 2 away from the top 4, Ricky. It seems crazy, doesn't it? You know, particularly after the mood last week, losing the North London derby, and we're now only 2 points away from top 4.
It's the magic of the week, Chris. You know, it's what happened. It's what can happen within a week, mate. Like last week, it could be all doom and gloom, and then 1 week passes, a couple of results, and we're back up there again. I think the biggest concern from every single Tottenham fans was not so much the scoreline, the results. It was the way in which we were playing. It was the way in which the boys were going out there and not performing. We know that Chelsea are a tough side. They've got a really strong defense. It was always going to be tough to score against them and to get a result against them. But the Gooners, they haven't really got. I mean, look, they drew with Brighton, didn't they? And it's because Brighton put pressure on them more than they were bad. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was the style of the performances, the way in which they were playing, which was the biggest kind of warning bells that were going off in every single Tottenham fan's head. The fact that, like we said, like Jamie Carragher, he broke it down. He done a fantastic breakdown last week of Tottenham midfield and the gaps that were everywhere. I mean, Sunday league teams could have scored against us last week, but the encouragement that I get from today is that however long they've had on that training pitch, they've put together a plan that's ultimately worked today. You look at those tweets there, and Højbjerg is the one that kind of shines for me more than the rest there, and he's really kind of talking and acting like a captain. He's really, even today in his interview, he was like, I think his words were, it was an acceptable performance. Do you know what I mean? He still wasn't going crazy. He still wasn't like, oh, this is it. Well, we're doing great. But he was like, this was an acceptable performance. This was a good performance from us. But the key is to progress from this point forward, And I think it's shown today. I think that slap in the face last week against the Gooners was massive. And today's response showed me that they did feel it, that they did feel a bit of shame. They did feel a bit of hurt and a bit of pain. And they did have this kind of reaction to, like, let's put this right. Let's give the fans something back. Let's do it for ourselves, but our families and the fans that are out there. Like, let's show them that we want to be here. Let's show them we do want to achieve with this shirt on, and that's what is most important and most encouraging for me from the side today.
Yeah.
Well, guys told you, Ricky, that a Sunday League team did score against us last week. That's Jamie.
Who was that? Who was that, Chris?
Guy.
Big up, Guy. Every single time. Big up, Guy.
Jamie, let's come through. Now, of course, our next 3 Premier League games: Newcastle away, West Ham United away, Manchester United home. In between that, we're playing a Europa Conference League game against Vitesse and the Carabao Cup tie, Burnley away. Now, when I spoke to the legend Graham Roberts earlier, I said, what should we be really going for this season? And he said, we're not going to win the league. Let's go and win a cup. Let's go and win a cup this season. And as you know, I always talk about trophies and the lack of them. 13 long years without trophies. What should Nuno Espirito Santo concentrate on? Because is it realistic that Tottenham can get a top 4 spot? Is it realistic that we can get a Europa League spot? Are we going to go back into the Europa Conference League, or are we going to concentrate on winning silverware, which this squad and the manager, the club, and the fans desperately need?
Yeah, I think on top four, I think we're definitely. I've got to say, I'm not going to get carried away from today. I think today it's still very, very difficult for us to get top four. I know Man United maybe look as though they might slip out. The other teams look as though they're not showing the best of form. I don't think Spurs are going to get top four this year. Of course, as we know, though, that's kind of the priority of the club, the board. That's what they want. They want top four. But for me, I don't think that's realistic. So I'd really like us to go and maybe see us put our eggs in a different basket in terms of maybe winning that trophy. I think you would have a better opportunity in prioritising maybe the FA. Well, I think it's difficult to say prioritising because I don't think any team's ever going to do that in terms of prioritising the FA Cup or over the league. But I would like to really see us go in those competitions, in especially the FA Cup. It's a trophy that Spurs, we've got fantastic tradition in, but in my lifetime, I've never seen us win it. So that's a trophy that I'd love to see us win. So, it's mental thinking the last time we won it, I believe it made us the record holders. Now, we're well behind the likes of Arsenal and I think, is it Manchester United, I think, the other team. So, that's something that's really got to change. I'd love to see us go and win one of those trophies. But, yeah, for me, I just don't think that... I don't think that top four is realistic this year. And then, of course, maybe the Conference League. I think as much as I don't think it's a trophy that I'd particularly celebrate. It's not something that I think we're going to get excited over if we were to win it. But it's also a really good opportunity to get back into the Europa League. And I know the Spurs fans were thinking, we're trying to grab onto a Europa League spot. But I think kind of where we are, I think that would be something that's really useful. So I'd love to see us try and win a trophy this year. But I think the club, they're not really going to let Nuno prioritise maybe the FA Cup or the League Cup. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for me, I would love to see us try and go for an FA Cup or a League Cup this year.
Mike, what is realistic that Tottenham can achieve this season? Is it a trophy? Can we win a trophy? I know every time I come on your Spurs show, I talk about the lack of trophies. I talk about trophies all the time. I just want the trophies to come. When are they going to come? And do you think it's realistic that we can go on to do something?
Every year we say the same thing. We'll take a trophy. We'll take the league cup. And we never do it. I actually think, looking at the league so far, I agree with Jamie. I don't think United look great. Top three is going to be in whatever order. City, Liverpool and Chelsea are miles ahead of us. We've gone backwards since the Champions League. We all know the reasons why. Lack of investment on the pitch. Put a run together, it's a possibility, but I think we're outsiders. I think we're probably the best we've finished is going to be fifth or sixth. I'd like us to go for the Conference League. I remember when there used to be, before 3 European competitions, the European Cup, the UEFA Cup, which we won it for the very first time in 72, and the Cup Winners' Cup as well.
Yeah.
So the Conference League at the moment looks Mickey Mouse, but in the knockout stages, I believe Europa League teams drop in, and possibly Champions League teams as well if they finish third. So, yeah, exactly. I see a Kev's comment there. Yeah, exactly. But why not? I mean, I think the finals in Tirana, which, no disrespect to all the Albanian fans watching this show, but it's not the most glamorous of European cities. A strange place to have a final, but we love an away day. We love a European trip, and I'm looking forward to the European games. It looks like already we should get through this group. We obviously drew with Rennes, beat Mora. We've got Vitus Arnhem. I think the next game, nothing there to be scared of, and then we could have some interesting knockout games. So why not? The League Cup, we're already into. Is it the 4th round, the 5th round, away to Burnley, which I think is doable. Yeah, which is doable. Well, look, we've been in the League Cup final last season. We were a few years ago against Man United and Chelsea and whatever. So there's always a chance of getting there. Out of the League Cup or European Conference League, I'll go for a Euro trophy every time. I think that would be slightly more prestigious than the Carabao Cup.
Mike, what realistically for you, what is the highest that Tottenham could finish with this current squad?
Oh God. I think realistically, I mean, as I said before, with the former Man United at the moment, then you could say, well, as I said, we win on Newcastle, we could technically go second. I think there is an outside chance of fourth, but I wouldn't put any money on it. I think realistically, probably sixth. I think we're probably sixth best. I think at the moment. We might do some more business in January. Things might click on the training pitch, and all of a sudden he finds a system that works for the players he's got. But I think most Spurs fans, if you sort of said, do you want fourth place or trophy? I think most would go for a trophy now. I know the club is all about the money in the Champions League, but I want another day out at Wembley. I want a drunken night out in town afterwards, celebrating a cup win. It's been too long. It really has. It's disgraceful, really, if you're honest. And the amount of FA Cup defeats. We had Michael Dawson on our show last week, and that show's coming out next Friday. So we talked about the Portsmouth game that season when we got to the Champions League, and we went to the semi-final Portsmouth when he slipped. And he said, we talked about the Arsenal game last week, and he said fans don't realise how much it affects players. We were so down. Obviously, there's the next game, you've got to lift yourself up, but it does affect the players. And I also interviewed Ian Walker, which is also coming out. We talked about the Everton 95 one at Ellen Road, where we thought we were going to absolutely walk over Everton and lost 4-1. We've had so many of these semi-final disappointments. I'd love to see us lift the FA Cup again. It's still the most prestigious cup competition in the world, despite our own country sort of downgrading it for various TV reasons. I'd love to see us win the FA Cup, obviously.
Ricky, surely you're like a drunken night out, wouldn't you?
Me, I don't know what you're talking about, bruv. Don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't drink champagne now. But he left the bottle beside me. I had no choice but to drink it before we went into the ground. That's all it was. I was being the responsible one by drinking it and not leaving it on the side. You know what, bro? I right now, and especially this season, after the last couple of seasons that we've had, I'm just taking it one game at a time. And I know it's cliche and I know it's boring to say, but I'm like, let's build on performances, on results, and fingers crossed that we can have a happy ending to this season, regardless of what that is. We still don't know. Fifth might even get us Champions League if one of those teams end up winning it, which, with the squads that they have, it could happen. Chelsea won it last year. I don't see why Liverpool or Man City could win it this year. So if they win it, I'm sure it still gets pushed down a place. So we might still sneak in there. But my thing, my biggest thing this season is performances, is pride, is passion, is the want, is the desire. I want to see him sweating. I want to see him fighting, bleeding for the club and bleeding for that result. And if we don't win that particular game, whether it's a cup game or a league game, then I'll be like, all right and cool, but at least they went and put everything out there. And that's the very least of what I want to see game by game. So of course I would love them to win a trophy. And do you know what? For all the Chris Cowlin fans out there, I think we should start a drinking game for every time trophies are mentioned. I think it'd be hilarious. I think we should all get some Ramon Vega wine and do a shot of it every single time trophies are mentioned. Just make us smile, Chris. Just make us smile.
Do you know? Well, actually, I've done a video with Graham Roberts earlier. He mentioned it first. I think you actually mentioned trophies first, Mike, today on this show.
Sorry, my fault.
I think everyone's doing it on purpose now, just bringing that word trophy and then just baiting me in, and then I'll talk about it. Jamie, did you want to add anything?
Just a point on Michael Dawson, him saying how much it kind of took out of the team, out of the players. I think Toby Alderweireld just did an interview this week. I think it was the Evening Standard, and he spoke about how the players were just so affected by that Champions League final defeat, and it affected. Pochettino needed to reset, the players needed to reset, and I think this is where all our problems. I think the Spurs fans, we've kind of underestimated how much this has taken a toll, and it has been a really difficult couple of years for Spurs. But I think it just goes to show that, of course, these players are all humans and they're all going to react like that. And so I think that we're kind of seeing that now. We're kind of seeing a real hangover. As we pointed out, it's not helped in kind of maybe reinvesting in the team and maybe the lack of transfers or and that sort of side. But yeah, I think that's just an interesting point. You know, having heard Toby say it, and of course Michael Dawson saying it now on the Spurs show, how much it does affect them. So I thought that was just an interesting point to hear.
They're human, Jamie. They're human. They're human, and heartbreak affects a human, regardless if it's a girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? Or regardless, or if it's a cup final, heartbreak is going to affect you, and it really did affect that side, because it was a miracle that we got there after the night in Amsterdam. It was a miracle that we got there. Do you know what I mean? So after all of that, after all the trials and tribulations, after not spending in transfer window, after going the ends of the ends with the squad that we had, drawing every bit of juice out of the lot of them, there was a heartbreak there, and you know we've seen that. We've seen the aftermath and the hangover of that since. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's funny, on this show every week, the guests seem to get these nicknames. So, Ricky, you've been given the nickname now of Ricky Champagne Norwood. I don't think that's a bad one.
Yeah. Listen, it's got a ring to it. I'm just saying.
Of course, yeah. Now, last question for you all, and this will show how carried away we're all getting. Now, score predictions for the Newcastle away game. Mike, let's start with you.
I'm going to go Newcastle. I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham.
2-1 Tottenham. Yes, well, they are in a right old state at the moment, aren't they? Newcastle fans are far from happy with the style of football, their results, everything about them, the manager. Ricky, what are you going for?
I'm going for 4-1 Tottenham. Come on!
Well, you've definitely been on the campaign.
Harry Kane's going to bang 3. He's going to bang another hat trick, and Sonny's going to get the other one. That's what's going to happen. 4-1. Then Maximum's going to score their goal. That's it.
Love it.
And up to
Jamie,
second.
what about you?
Do you know what? I think Ricky said it earlier. You know, it is taking every game as it comes for now. Today, I was not expecting that performance. I think we were in a really worrying state. So, you know, you don't know how we're going to be at Newcastle. But having seen that reaction, having seen the performance today, I'm more confident now. I'm going to go for 3-1 for Spurs. And just on Harry Kane as well, I think that, for me, I think it is total confidence at the moment. I think that when all the top strikers, all the best players in the world, and when they're in front of goal, they do everything without overthinking stuff. And today, I think Harry Kane, he looked as though a player that kind of was really short of confidence in terms of in front of goal, where maybe he was overthinking things. So for me, he's a player that always seems, as Ricky pointed out, always overcomes these challenges. So I've got no concerns. I know you're going to hear a lot of rubbish in the media that he doesn't want to play for Spurs. I think I got a WhatsApp message from a Chelsea fan today saying that he's playing like this to decrease his value so he can get that move. But you're going to hear a lot of rubbish. But Harry Kane, as we said, always overcomes these challenges. And for me, yes, definitely short of confidence at the moment. But that's something that will definitely come back for Harry Kane, because he's just too good. So yeah, looking forward to hope. And I'm going to go for 2 for Harry Kane. 2 of the 3 goals are going to be scored by Harry Kane.
Do you know what, Jamie? I wouldn't expect anything less from a Chelsea fan. I'm also going to go for a 3-1 Tottenham win as well. Jamie, thanks so much for joining us this week.
No, my pleasure. Really, really pleased to be talking about a win. I think it's been far too long since we kind of discussed the win. So, really pleased with that performance. And really enjoyed the show today.
And Ricky Champagne Norwood, thank you very much as always.
Thank you again for having me on, Chris. Awesome show. Always love being on. Thank you again for the invite on Thursday. It was dynamite to get back in the stadium. And after all the dramas, it was just so good to be in there and see 5 beautiful goals. Do you know what I mean? And a Harry Kane hat-trick. More to come from us. More to come. This is just a building block. Let's keep building. Come on, you Spurs.
Thank you very much, Ricky. And Mike, thank you so much indeed. And tell us a little bit more about what's coming up on the Spurs show.
Well, thank you for lovely to coming on my debut. Well, we've got next Friday will be part 1 of the Michael Dawson live show we did, and he's amazing. He was such a lovely guy, just down to earth, really lovely, and he was there like 9 seasons. So we did about an hour and a half with him, I think, in total. So that's coming out. There's a show with Ian Walker. Ian Walker's in Shanghai as a goalkeeper coach. We did an hour's chat with him. And then, as I said, the big one, December the 6th, the 100 Club, 6 of the UEFA Cup players from 72 come along. It's always a great night, these nights at the 100 Club. They get quite messy, but it's always a nice crowd. So if you're around, go to christmas.spursshow.net. I'd love to see you all there. And next week, no game. What am I going to do? It means I've got to talk to my family next weekend and actually see my kids. Unbelievable. There we are. But lovely to be on.
Thank you very much, Mike. Mike, Ricky, Jamie, can't thank you all enough. Thanks for so much to all of the viewers for all of the comments. Let's hope that we are talking about another Tottenham Hotspur win in a couple of weeks against Newcastle. Until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.